Okay, I'm doing this again. I'm probably gonna try and edit it down more when I upload this. I'll probably try and edit down the previous one too. I just want to say, also, I think it's strange that this is marked as the third special stage level, and it's got like a lava theme to it. Like, you'd think that the lava theme, that would be down over here. I haven't checked the name of that level, but I don't want to spoil it for myself. But I really like this song. I really like this song, this version of the song, especially because, wait for it. There we go. Cause I like this, cause like, the original song, it's just kind of lighthearted. So it just has this kind of like, more chipper feel to it, because it's this like PC98 song, with this just like casual PC98 song. But just with they add these the flippin' marble guitars to it, now it feels like a flippin' Final World song, and I think that's really cool. This like a final world that is also a lava world. Specifically that combo, which is very common, of course, in Mario, and probably in other things too. Yeah, I just think it's very interesting, especially. But I'm just thinking how that there are a few things on my mind about that game. Because first off, it's one of the. There are a lot of PC98 games. There are a lot of PC98 games that are just like porn games of some porn game story, dating porn game stories, Sims of some sort with really good music. Like I know this was before like Dova syndrome was a thing, the equivalent to like Kevin McLeod or whoever, as just like every VTuber and like Dojin games like 100% orange juice. They use all that music. I wonder if these kinds of soundtracks for like PC98 porn games are like to Japan what it's like when like the flippin' Fallen brothers, rest in peace Jeff Fallen, what it's like when the Fallen brothers would make the best flippin' music for something like the flippin' Silver Surfer NES game. That's like the equivalent culturally. Like to them, that's that thing, or it's like there's no way where like they feel like there's no way these composers had to go so hard, and it's like they went hard just because somebody was just like, hey, we need a composer, and they just had some sort of freelance composer or whatever who just was really good at what they did, and you got that. Another thing, I think it's funny, the game this is from. One thing I think is funny about the game, and one of the only things I know about the game, is that the title screen is it's the Toy Story title screen. Like it's like unapologetically in the style of the Toy Story logo, and I just think that's really funny. That's really funny to me. That's just why is it the Toy Story logo? You got a friend, PC98 friend inside me. I'm sorry, that just popped in my head. But like another thing that popped in my head as I was thinking about that before recording this was Toy Story 5 by Dude. That flippin' YouTube poop where every flippin', it's a bunch of different scenes in Toy Story 2 except they all add that gasp. It's like Rex and Ham and Slinky Dog, they all gasp, and Mr. Potato Head's like, what the? It's just like that. What the? It's just like that. Constantly. It's just that that's Toy Story 5 right there. I don't care what Pixar releases. That's Toy Story 5. That's the whole narrative of those videos where it's John Lasseter flippin' took everyone hostage with CalArts and the manifesto to create 5 new Toy Story sequels. It's like, I think that elevates all those YouTube poops, all those like Toy Story sequel YTPs by Do. It elevates them to another level because it's like John Lasseter, once beloved creator, has been reduced to like this nonsensical desperation where he's just poops. I keep thinking about that one that's like where it's like Woody and Buzz express their intersexual feelings. That's Toy Story 6, and it's like the description of that, the lore in the comments. John Lasseter's like 25 fucking years. For 25 years he's been waiting to do this. There's like this idea that John Lasseter just like this weird, this guy, this is like stairs. That's an old YTP right there. That's an old like that's flipping. That one's ancient. Ah. It's weird. Why is this here? Like these are here. Just these little specks of like the like dirt from Yoshi's Island. Just here. Can I do something? Can this work? No. Nope. Something up there. If anything in this area can get it, it'd be like jumping on that thing. Ah! Whoa, that was risky for me to do. What? I'm just gonna... Yeah. Oops. That was dumb. I was because I remember on Tumblr when that was just the other day. I was thinking of sometime when I found out about the game over screen to that Bart's Naked Skate Flash game that was released in promotion of the Simpsons movie. And I remembered it was like it was 3D, and but the game over screen was the part where Naked Bart, he lands on the Krusty Burger door, and Ned is there, and he has this look. He has this look of strange fear. Immediately, my mind has gone to a different 3D Simpsons thing, and that's the beta cutscenes for Simpsons Hit and Run. Those weird like beta cutscenes. It's like there's the one where it's supposed to be like a little fly that's actually like a drone sent by Caning. I forget the name of the other. I forget the name of the other alien, but you know those two. Sent by those aliens. I think is that at the start of the 7th chapter? I don't know, but it's like that. It's that, and where Homer he sees it and he just swats it like a bug. And there's like dramatic like psycho strings. There's a TVtropes.com psycho strings. I'm sorry. I remember there's just the beta version. Homer's model looks so lifeless. He has this dead-eyed stare with no emotion, with a face that does not look like it feels remorse or regrets. And just seeing that, it's way funnier seeing that thing flipping swat the bug and hear the really loud noise it makes when he strikes it. It's like he's a flipping monster who strikes things with no remorse. You know, everybody says it's bad writing, and it probably is, but like, I would argue that the most evil someone could be would be if they know they're doing wrong, if they know that what they're doing is wrong, and maybe even is in their view considered wrong, but they want to do it anyway, they have like no reason to do it, like, because it's just like, you have no excuse. You have no excuse for what you're doing. You know you have no excuse, but you're still doing it, and it's like, that's messed up. Like, imagine that. Like, there's no excuse. It's not. You're You're not like the Terminator where it's like you don't care and this is just a thing that's hardwired into you. You're not like the flippin' Thing where you're just a weird like weird nature monster thing causing this. With this weird monster thing where you're just like passively causing this, maybe not even on purpose. It's hard to where it's like it's hard to get a read. I've never watched that movie and I kind of don't want to. I'm squeamish. I'm sorry, I'm squeamish. But I get the general idea of the Thing, the 80s, 1982 thing. In case there's any other thing, like that definitely seems like the kind of thing that the kind of movie that would get like a reboot or like a remake or something, like a bad one. Like a bad one, or like maybe just like a mediocre one. I don't know. I remember I first learned about the Thing from some flippin' YouTube parody where it was a ditto. They were in like a house or something instead of like out in the. I don't know if it's Arctic or Antarctic, whichever pole. Whichever. There are no penguins or polar bears to prove one or the other. It doesn't matter. Wait, why does that just happen sometimes that the Podoboo shoe doesn't show up? I'm calling them Podoboos, by the way. Lava Bubble is a lame ass name. I know Podoboo doesn't make sense, but it sounds cooler. Like I don't care what a Lac2 is, but it sounds cool. It's a fun name. It's a fun name. Like, can a Podoboo be a Podoboo? And it's like up. I'm always holding down the Y button because it's like I always feel like I can never know when I need to go faster on a whim. So like 99% of the time, give or take a few percent. Does that make sense with 99? I don't know. Anyway, but that just however much. Just like I'm almost always holding down the run button because I always want to make sure that I get any speed boost. You know, like unless maybe when I'm using something like a fire flower or an ice flower or a hammer suit, maybe they won't hold as much because then it's like now I'm also a weapon wielder. But this is a case where it's just pure platforming. So it's like all that speed is what matters. I think horizontal distance is what matters. I would have used Peach for this level because she could float, but then I wouldn't be able to. Spin jump off the Podoboos in emergency. Where? Oh, there it is. Okay, it just took a little while. I forgot. I don't know what. I was very nearsighted about it. Kind of like when I was going on a big tangent about Peanuts last time, and I just kept using Toad, even though I realized that I would be doing way better at the level as Peach. And like as soon as I ended that, as soon as I stopped thinking of Peanut stuff to talk about, I switched to Peach because I was finally like lucid enough to realize, wait a minute, Toad doesn't really work as well for this level as Peach does. Speaking of which, there's something I'm gonna go watch because of what I said in my last video. Okay, so I trash talked the Vigil from Snoopy the Musical in my last video. I finally went and listened to the 1975 and 1982 versions. I not listened to the 2017 version. I wasn't going to. I don't think there is one. Maybe it's just not on YouTube. I don't know. But honestly, the 1975 version is good. I like that version. I think what I don't like about the 1988 version and like latter part of the 1982 version, how much instruments like there are. Like the 1988 version, there's like the drums and the piano and the brass, whatever brass that is, trumpet, I don't know. And I don't know, it's just like it just feels weird for this song about a kid waiting in the pumpkin patch in the middle of the night. And I like how the 1975 version, it just has the piano. It's just the piano. I think that works a lot better. I will say the recording they have of the 1975 version, Linus' performer, he has a few weird line readings. Like, well, he has. It's really one that's weird. Shoot. I forgot that wall was lava for some reason. Like, he's talking about like how more people believe in Santa Claus and the Great Pumpkin. And talking to the Great Pumpkin, who's not there, as far as we know. And he's like, well, let's face it, Santa has more publicity. Except the way the performer in the 1975 version says it, he like screams the end of it, like, Santa has more publicity!
Santa Claus has more publicity!
And it's like, and I don't know what, it's so weird. It's like, what was that? It's like, why did he do that? I don't, like, why is Santa's more publicity? It's just so, it's so out of nowhere. Oh. I like that the new shoe spawned the second I hit that wall. You know, actually, here's something I'm wondering. What about Luigi? Luigi has more height. Luigi jumps high. And I'm just thinking about something. I'm thinking about something just kind of funky that Redigit never committed to with the Sonic stuff in the game. The only Sonic stuff by Redigit in Super Mario Bros. X is the Mystic Cave Zone background and the rings, and that's it. And I just feel like it's weird. That it's like that's all Redigit thought to put in, and it's like Super Mario Bros. X2 takes it a little further. Takes it a little further because they're Asterons from Sonic 2. And they're monitors, but that's it. And I mean, I get it, because it's like it'd be a nightmare to like make a tile set for a Sonic game, because there's just so many tiles to. I don't know. It's just like, it just feels funky how like this is. It's interesting because it's like it's sort of like a mix. Like because like I was always convinced that if Redigit got to keep working on Super Mario Bros. X, they would have eventually put in Samus. Like, it feels like that it was on its way to that. If that's what it felt like to me anyway. Like, just because you have all this Super Metroid stuff, you have plenty of Super Metroid stuff. It's like, it's about equal, maybe greater than the amount of Zelda 2, the amount of Zelda stuff, Zelda or Zelda 2 or Link to the Past. It's about equal. It's weird how the Lakitu shoe is more common than the Podoboo shoe. Like, you'd think you'd get the Podoboo shoe more often than you'd get the Lakitu shoe in this episode. Because that's what they call it in Super Bros. X episodes. I say that like it should just like, I just say that on the off chance that somebody just clicks on this video and has no clue what Super Bros. X is, let alone Super Bros. X2. You know what? You know what? The heck with it. I'm gonna grab the Lakitu. You know, if I'm gonna grab the Lakitu shoe, I might as well go all the way and not. I'm gonna go all the way to have HP. Like, I don't know. Like, I haven't found any. I'm not aware of anything in the game's code that makes Toad run faster. Again, that wasn't really established as just Toad running faster until 3D World. Because in Super Mario USA, I've watched that Young Measley video. I'm calling them both the games that aren't Mario 2. Nobody gets confused except that's not true. There's definitely people that get like, what the heck is Super Mario USA? But like there, it's like his thing is that he can pick up things the fastest. And there's also that you sort of have you have the thing where he picks up things the fastest. And then Peach and Luigi, they run slower when they're holding something. Mario does not run any faster or slower. Toad runs faster. And that has an effect. Sorry, and that affects it. But I feel like that's more derived from like how Papa and Doki Panic is the dad. So he's like I feel like it's supposed to be like the strong one. Instead of being the strong one, as opposed to a sign of being the fast one. But I mean, of course, it is weird to have the idea that Toad is the strong one of the characters. I get that, even if I used to think that was, even if I used to not care. I guess that's a weird direction to take Toad. Just this little guy who got owned. Oh, I still have the shoe? Oh, shoot. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry, that was unnecessary. Anyway, Super Mario 3D World was like, it has a blue Toad, but I think, as far as I'm concerned, that's meant to be Toad. Especially since, like, I remember that Clyde Mandolin article. It's like, in Japan, which is where the Mario games come, which is where the Mario series came from. So I feel like that's gotta be worth something, even if that's gotta be worth something. How there isn't really a Toad character in Japan any more than there is, say, a Koopa Troopa character to us, like, just like, you get to play as a singular Toad. We technically don't have much proof that isn't the same character every time, but it's very possible that it's not. It's perfectly possible, perfectly plausible. I like the idea of there being like an individual representing it. And I just kind of ignore how it's Blue Toad in Super Mario 3D World. Or I just treat that as like an exception. I just said like it's still the thing of Toads that they're the fast ones. In terms of, if you want to like balance out the characters in terms of like what they do, like. And I'm thinking about Super Mario 64 DS. Super Mario 64 DS was from a childhood game of mine. I'll admit it has flaws. The biggest that comes to mind is the character balance, because even if I like the power that I feel playing as Luigi, I'll admit it's probably not a good sense of design for him to be the best character like that. Like, you have Wario. Wario has no use in Super Mario 64 DS unless it's a level that requires abilities that you can't get from anyone but him. And even Yoshi, it's like, even with Yoshi, it's like he kind of falls off in having purpose once you get the other characters. Oops. Okay. But it's just like, and like Mario's like, he's the fastest runner. That's his thing. And also, he's the only one that can still wall jump. For some reason, that feels weird to me. It's just like, we need something to set Mario apart more. Like, just let him have the wall jump. And then you have Luigi with his backward somersault of power. Ah. You can get to the town in Wet Dry World, the main area just be completely dry. You can just do a backward somersault off of that block, and it'll just be soaring all the way. And it's like, I know it's not good for character balance, but it flippin' feels so satisfying to do. Maybe it's because it's Wet Dry World, I don't know. Like, the so-called Wet Dry World negative aura, because that was definitely meant to be taken seriously. With its flippin' talk about a haunted dirt texture, which is from like one flippin' forum post that like someone thought they saw a face in like one of the textures. It was like, hey, is that a flippin' face? And it's like, that's from the same flippin' forum that said that there were like Viking bombs. Then there's the whole deal with the Wario apparition. Like, that's just like I get that the top of that iceberg has stuff that's already that already includes like rumors and stuff. Like L is real is there, and like that's already a thing. But that's a rumor. It's been confirmed that that text doesn't mean anything. They just wrote that to screw with people, to troll people. They just made people think that had meaning. But it's like, there's so many other things that are just like so vague, and it feels like they're being vague on purpose, just so that it's like, so that other people can think of what that means and not the person. And I mean, sometimes that creates, and I mean, sometimes it leads to some interesting stuff, like that stuff with the stuff it does with like that one thing that was that one like pointlessly vague thing about that some non-existent build from 1995 said do not research. I thought that was kind of neat. I mean, here's the thing, you gotta remember that I think that the real thing with that list is that it has stuff like that. It has stuff like that where it almost sounds like a mystery, but it also has that thing that Chris O'Neill did as a kid, where he made a fake Mario 64 screenshot of a room where Bowser's just like peeking in through a window. It's just a little gray room with nothing, because like that was his mindset, was like the game Easter eggs. They're just like that. They always make no sense like that. And I mean, I kind of get where he's coming from. Like fake crash. What? Like, if you weren't in on that joke, I don't think anybody is. I don't know I don't think we've even really gotten the full explanation of that joke. But it's like, if you're just some kid, then it's like, what does that mean? Nothing. It means that if you go to the secret area in a Crash Bandicoot game, you find this weird-looking doppelganger of Crash Bandicoot, and it means nothing. It's just a thing you can see. Like, I get his mindset behind that. I get, it's... I say this like this is a thing that people are defending. I say this like this is like the Jerma with the M&M, that Jerma M&Ms clip, where he says he'd kick the shit out of the M&Ms, where it's like... I mean, I'm pretty sure, I get the feeling with that one, it's like people don't take it too seriously, because I get the feeling that I was always under the impression that I'll admit, maybe it's not true, but I always thought, I've started to think more recently that like when people try to exaggerate those things with Jerma, like their comments on that flippin' clip, Jerma really hates M&Ms. First of all, the name of the clip already makes it sound like something different. Like, it's not that he was doing a flippin' tier list of how well he'd fare in a fight against food mascots, and he knew if the M&Ms were, and he knew how small the M&Ms were, and he figured it would be flippin' very easy to defeat them. And I mean, to his defense, especially since it was just the red and yellow spokes candies, like, they have like no combat ability. I can't think of a single commercial where they show combat ability throughout all the world M&M commercials. They're like those old Pop-Tarts commercials where they're just at the mercy of humans. if a human decides it's okay to eat something that has thoughts and aspirations like they do, if it's a tasty candy,
Excuse me, I like
then
to eat a lot.
they're fucked. Like, that's a recurring theme with the M&M's commercials. If that wasn't an M&M or a Pop-Tart, that'd be fucked up. It'd be screwed up. Like, I don't think anyone would deny that. That's the thing. And that's the thing. They basically are. They're sapient. They're sapient. They sapient, sentient. They think the way humans do, and yet they're still being treated as inanimate food items when they're not. So, like, already that's the point. So back to Jerma. People in the chat were saying that the M&Ms were large, were really large, and it's like, and they're not. They're like, yeah, it's true. They're not. They're not big. They're not big. Look at any commercial with an M&M next to a human, and you'll realize how small they are. They're bigger than the actual M&Ms, the regular M&Ms. There's that one commercial that's like, it puts it rather simply.
We're not just bigger, we're smarter too.
They're bigger and they're smarter. That's basically what. But they're not that big. Is again, I have to backtrack to that. And then Jerma pulls up the classic "They Do Exist" commercial, which is like taking on the mantle of the Tootsie Pop Owl as being the commercial that refuses to die. Unless the Tootsie Pop Owl still hasn't died. I don't know. I don't watch TV a lot. I don't watch like live TV a lot, so I don't know if like they've like. I don't know if either of those have like come back from the dead. I'm just entirely based on. I'm basing this entirely off of what I've heard from other people. But yeah, and it's like Jerma does lowball the height of the M&Ms, like saying they're somewhere from 9 to 10, like 12 inches tall. When he says that's verbatim what he says. It's changing his mind about what height included, and it's like they're not that small, but they're not much bigger than that. They're like maybe 3 feet tops. 3 feet tops, which means they're still small, and they don't know how to fight. They don't know how to fight. The only time I can think of when an M&M man should like get their way out of being, besides Miss Green, that's not what she's usually called. I snort is just, I'm not sure if that's what she's usually called, especially not anymore. Now they've like rebranded to be like, oh hey, we're family. Oh hey, it's feel good commercials or something. I have something to say about that, but anyway, that's the context. Jerma's pointing out, like, they're not giants. They're not giants. They're smaller than Santa Claus. Santa Claus isn't that big. They're like significantly smaller than Santa Claus. And then you look at other commercials too. Like you look at like a commercial with like Patrick Warburton, and it's like it's the same deal. Big. I don't know how tall Patrick Warburton is. I don't care. Really, because I feel like that's not my business. But like I'd imagine that Patrick Warburton would be a better example of like a more average human height than say Santa Claus. I'm just guessing there. I don't know. But like my point, you know, it's like it is kind of weird how he's like, imagine meeting me. Like,
are you kidding me? Imagine meeting Jerma 985. Imagine you meet me. Well, Jerma 985. Oh!
I'm not entirely sure what the rule, like, I don't think he was really entirely sure what the rules he was putting on himself for it. Like, Chad argued that it wouldn't be a fight with, like, Snap, Crackle, and Pop, or, like, the California raisins poisoned his drink. What I picture is something like the Street Fighter 4 training room. That's basically what I picture, the Street Fighter 4 training room. Something like that. I'll come back to that, because there's one thing I want to talk about in terms of what a realization that I came to. But anyway, with the M&Ms, like, the flippin' purple spokes candy. The purple spokes candy. M&Ms used to come in violet color. When they did the global color vote to have a limited edition candy, is have a candy being added to the colors for a limited time, purple won?
Because purple won the global color vote.
Like, clearly there's demand among M&M's fans for purple M&Ms. You totally could have introduced a purple spokes candy to go along with officially adding purple M&Ms to the lineup They didn't, and so it's just like they have this new spokes candy, and it's like, okay, there's a 3 to 4 gender ratio instead of a 2 to 4 gender ratio. Sure, but like, you can't get a purple M&M that easy. You don't get a purple M&M in a bag. So like, why have one of the main spokes candies be a color that you can't normally get? Okay, so I'm done with that. So now I want to talk about Chester Cheetah's combat prowess. Because Jerma put Chester Cheetah, one of the food mascots that he considered to be the most dangerous. He makes it clear that it's because Chester Cheetah is a cheetah. And I mean, I get that line of reasoning, because it's like, yeah, a cheetah will kill you. He also describes Chester Cheetah as like a cracked out cheetah, like, Cheetos, yeah!
Junk food, motherfuckers!
That's his memory of Chester Cheetah. And I went through a bunch of Cheetos commercials, because I was curious, like, if I look at Cheetos commercials, ignoring natural cheetah powers, which is very possible that he doesn't have, being a cartoon character. There are times when cartoon animals are distanced from what those animals can actually do. And I thought maybe Chester Cheetah was an example. Like, Cheetah might be dangerous, but does Chester Cheetah have the traits that make a cheetah dangerous? And I looked up various commercials, and I would say most of the time, no. Early Cheetos commercials have this whole thing like he's a cool cat, and then when he sees Cheetos, he loses his cool. It's kind of like what would eventually happen with Sonny, the bird with Cocoa Puffs. But like in those commercials, like when he starts going for the Cheetos, his plans fall flat on his face, and like he's lucid to some degree. He acknowledges as he's running for it that he's losing his cool. He can acknowledge that. Even if he apparently can't stop himself. Maybe he chooses not to. Maybe he's just bullshitting. I don't know. But like it seems like he isn't. Like, it seems like there's a thing where if he had more control, he would go about it a different way. And then you get to in the David Feist commercials, that's the closest he gets to being competent in attacking people. The Cheetos Ghost Snacks commercial, that's out of the equation. He's not as involved in dragging a character into the slapstick antics. He's not entirely that involved in the Cheetos Mystery Colors commercial either, but he's a little more involved. He like grabs the guy when some woman mistakenly believes that he has blutonitis. He grabs the guy and throws him into the ambulance, and he does CPR, and it's like, he's not killing that guy, but it's obviously doing slapstick harm, which is like more than nothing. That's more than like he was doing before. And then you have the Cheetos Worlds commercial, and it's like that's David Feist, which is like David Feist's version of the old losing his cool thing, where he really does lose his cool. Like he is not lucid. Like he's like, that's when and then ya. Like he's just gone mad. He has just gone nuts. He's just on the loose. He's just a danger on the loose, and it's because of Cheetos World. And when he loses his cool in that commercial, he like slams into pillars in this flippin' fancy mansion with enough force to knock them over. So like in that state, he could probably give you he could probably slam to your chest and give you cardiac arrest. But here's the thing: is that specifically when he sees Cheetos Worlds. So like there are two problems with that. First of all, like that would mean they would have to allow like outside items use. And I'm not sure if that's something that would be something that would be considered acceptable in the fight. To just have an outside power, have something for like a flippin' coach to have. If his flippin' coach pulled out Cheetos Worlds and like threw them at his opponent so that Chester flippin' lost his cool and flippin' trampled them. He's never shown that reaction to anything but Cheetos Worlds, okay? So unless we make assumptions about how he reacts, assumptions that would likely be contradicted by newer commercials where it's basically just some guy, then it's like, okay, just a cheetah does not have the predatory skills of a cheetah, then he'd be pathetic in the ring. Because like with Tony the Tiger, it's like, it doesn't matter if he's a tiger or not, he's flipping athletic, he's fit and athletic. Tony the Tiger can absolutely punch you out. regardless of being a tiger or not, just his physique. That would happen. Chester Cheetah is just this scrawny little fella. Like, I'm not good at fighting, but like, I don't know if he's good at fighting, so like, maybe, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I wanted, maybe, if I were doing this tier list, I'd say maybe that'd be a fair fight between the two of us. Like, I don't think he'd sweep. I think Sonny would be more likely to sweep because I think, but, I mean, here's the thing with Sonny. I haven't done a deep dive on Cocoa Puffs commercials. I vaguely remembered that, like, he has his thing of, like, not going cuckoo for Cocoa. He's where like, this commercial where he's trying to fight his addiction and not go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Trying not to relapse. And then something happens and it's like he goes cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs all over again. But what happens is, like, generally he sees Cocoa Puffs or something. He doesn't, I thought he, like, for some reason I misremembered him as, like, hallucinating Cocoa Puffs in places. Like, particularly I remembered, like, I thought I remembered, like, a commercial where he was on an airplane and he was perfectly fine, except he suddenly started seeing Cocoa Puffs that weren't there, and that was what drove him cuckoo. If there's anything to prove that Sonny could go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs without the sight of Cocoa Puffs, like, would just say without outside help, like, if it's just the two of us in the flippin' Street Fighter 4 arena or something, the Street Fighter 4 training room or something, then, like, if that's ever happened where he's gone cuckoo without actually seeing any actual Cocoa Puffs anywhere, if that's a thing that can happen, then that could happen. And it's like, that could happen mid-fight, and suddenly, and like, any lead I had, any advantage I had against Sonny would be gone in an instant, because he's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and he can drive his beak right to my chest. Okay, so I'm recording this in the middle of editing because I realized something about the Cocoa Puffs commercial that I got. This is exactly the Cocoa Puffs commercial I was thinking about, and I still don't know what is happening in it.
If I'm going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, I'm going to lock him in this chocolatey safe.
What was that? Was that real? I don't know. Was that real? Was that in his head? Or was that real? I don't know.
Cocoa Puffs are everything, Chuck.
And then it keeps happening.
Chuck, oh, Lottie, it's Cocoa Puffs.
Was that real? That's a... was that a box of Cocoa Puffs driving the car? Or to taxi? Or is he hallucinating? Because that makes all the difference. See, this is what I was saying. This is what was in my head, I think. Was this scene. Seeing all these Cocoa Puffs. Because I was like, oh, he must be hallucinating this. Because why would Cocoa Puffs be in an airplane? Just in seats like that. But I don't know. If this is all in his head, then, like, I could not. And I definitely couldn't beat him. Because, like...
I give up. I go.
He gives up. He gives up. The whole time he's fighting back the urge. But that urge is there the whole time. It is entirely him holding it back. If he was fighting me, he would not hold that back. He would immediately go for that. And he'd flippin' go wild. He'd lunge at me immediately. If this isn't what it seems, then Sonny is more dangerous than Tony the Tiger. I guarantee it. Oh, come on! I always think it's interesting how the jumping fire piranha plants in Super Mario Bros. X2, how they're yellow like that, and how they have that different visual effects. Like, you get that it probably helps differentiate it from the regular jumping piranha plants, but I just think that's interesting because that's not a thing that's not how they look in Super Mario. I'm thinking about Sally Brown now. I get the feeling that I'm a unique specimen among people who are fans of the character Sally Brown. So, because her whole shtick with Linus, it honestly kind of annoys me, especially in the specials and in the comics starting around the 70s, when Sweet Baboo becomes a thing. When she starts calling him that. Because here's the thing. I get it when people think of the idea of like Schroeder and Lucy being like a Shrucy, as they say. If that's somehow they thought that it's reciprocated, because it's like, yeah, Schroeder does at least tolerate, like, there are times when he says, leave me alone. But there are often times where he isn't actively trying to stop her. He's trying to get her away. Sometimes he's only pushed to that point when like she says something and he pulls the piano. But it's like you have those weird exceptions, like that time when the Van Pelts moved away for like a few days, like maybe 1 week. That was eventually adapted into It's This Goodbye, Charlie Brown, like 2 decades later. But there it's like he's like, first of all, there's a bit of a crying wolf because he's so used to Lucy making these extreme claims, you know, and it's like he's so used to that. Then he actually sees the moving truck and he's like, wait, really? And he actually feels lonely. And it's like, I feel like there are a lot of ways you can interpret that if you even care about that in the long run. I mean, I think I've made it clear that I'm far gone enough that I do. I don't know, but like, you know, like you have things like that. You have that one strip in 1980 where he gave Lucy a kiss on the cheek when she remembered Beethoven's birthday. That's a weird strip, I will say. It's weird how that Schultz just kind of dropped that with no build up to that. That is often a thing they point to. It's often a thing that like people who like the idea of Shrucy point to. And I'm not, I'm in a neutral point. I'm fine with any idea of the dynamic. I'm not gonna say that there's any single correct way to see it, because this is a fundamental. I'm not sure if there was ever even. I'm not even sure if there was a single correct way that Schultz viewed it the whole time, because you know we gotta remember this. Like 50 years of comics, you know. I mean, like the big thing is I like the main thing is that like I think any idea of penis characters getting together is that like if it gets. Besides maybe with Pepper and Patty and Marcy, if they get more together than they already are, I like to imagine that would happen when they're older, when they're like at least teens. The other thing with Lucy and Schroeder specifically, I like the idea that they aren't like a lovey-dovey couple. Like they still have that kind of snarky back and forth, even as a couple. I think that's fun because I think that's kind of almost like a nice balance, because obviously the unrequited love thing is gone, but you do have their dynamic sort of. It's a little like the context is a little different, but it's like it's not like Schroeder was a flippin' tsundere or anything like that. Like the idea that it was more like they weren't like adjusting to the idea of something a little different from like typical old-fashioned family values or something. I like that sound. I think that's my favorite sound in a video game. Well, that's one of my favorite sounds in a video game. Another one would also be, another high contender would be the sound of the big laser charging and being fired in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Anyway, so yeah, that's my 2 cents on Lucy and Schroeder. This whole year just kind of me been getting obsessed with penis and finding this weird sense of comfort in that little when I have that little Eudora plush that I made next to me, and I put her up here right now. There's something about her that just looks so comfy. I don't know how to describe it. And she's funny. She's like I like how she's just like, I keep thinking about the first of it. Because I was talking about Sally. I guess I should talk about that first. So like, because that was why I was talking about Schroeder and Lucy. Because like, in contrast to like those occasions with Schroeder and Lucy, there's like no instance in the strip. Like, there are times in the strip where Linus where Linus is fine with Sally's presence, and we find like saying things to Sally. But like the difference between like Sally and Linus and like Lucy and Schroeder is that whenever Sally makes any hint of romantic feelings, Linus immediately shuts her down. Consistently. He never doesn't shut her down. He always shuts her down. Schroeder sometimes shuts Lucy down. Sometimes he just kind of like tones her out, and you can interpret that however the heck you want. Sometimes he'll admit that if Lucy were the last girl on Earth, then he would marry her. Linus just seems so aggressively against him and Sally being a couple. He's so aggressively against that to a point where I can't imagine it getting any better. I can't imagine it getting better. The most I can imagine is that eventually Sally gets the hint and they're just friends. Eventually, somewhere down the line. That's all I can picture is. And so like, and given how prominent of a thing that is in Sally's character, I imagine that probably makes me seem a bit unusual as somebody who likes Sally. And that's because like I feel like her just being like the little girl, the youngest, being like one of the younger characters, being, you know, the little sister, and her affection towards Linus. I feel like those are like the two big things you get in like a lot of the Peanuts media that most people know about in like the United States. Like, there's some places where the comics are more prominent, and that maybe that probably makes a difference. For me, what I really like about Sally, when she's eccentric and has a bit of attitude to her, a bit of attitude towards the school system. Like, she has a flip, like she tries to, like she does a report on George Washington, and she has a picture that ends up that looks like Abraham Lincoln, and she's like, really? Who was he born? And she's like, okay, moving on to 1809. Like, she just does that on the fly. It's stuff like that I like with Sally. The Coat Hater sculpture strip also, that is a masterpiece. That is, I would say that's one of the best Peanut strips ever. That was Schultz. That was Schultz learning that his daughter got a C for doing a sculpture, and it's like, how is that possible? And that's him projecting that onto Sally, and that's giving Sally the knowledge of like the question of like, how is it reasonable to grade a sculpture? Like, what part were you grading me on? And is there really any fair way to judge an assignment where I did a sculpture? When like I put in the effort, you know, like, and it's also funny in that strip how she gets more verbose. She's eventually like, the establishments the coat haters for our garments. Eventually, like, that's also good. That's also funny. Stuff like that. I think that's the stuff that like I feel like is really missing in like a lot of stuff. Is that kind of eccentric? Even just like times when she's like doing her homework and she's like eccentric about things, like she's like writing something, like she's writing an ampersand, is like, if you want to know where it's at, just ask me. Or that one where she's like, bees don't have hooves, bees have feet. Who you trying to kid? That's my favorite Sally strip, besides the Co-Hater one. That's the one that I think of when I think of why I like Sally as a character. Like, she's eccentric, she's got attitude. I just think that makes for a fun character. And then there's Eudora, who is like, Eudora was like one of the last things I ever learned about like the main run of the comics, because I read a few strips scattered throughout, but I never stumbled upon a strip with Eudora in it. I imagine it's probably I wonder if it has to do with the fact that she was in like that kind of awkward in-between period like from 1978 to 1987, I think. Like, you know, like those are like the awkward middle years of Peanuts to a lot of people. The 70s and 80s especially. But I think Eudora's fun because like she has an interesting dynamic with Sally where they're both eccentric, but in like different ways. So like they end up kind of being the straight girls to each other, depending on the situation. Sort of. Also, Eudora just kind of has this like, she also just has this sort of like stoic eccentricity to her. Like she seems like she'd say something really out of pocket, with just like the most blank face. Sally would say it more Sally might say it more confidently with a little more snark. Eudora would just like, she'd have no like clear emotion on her face, and then she'd just say something weird like, if I chopped you up in no, she wouldn't say the meat grinder thing. Sally would make the meat grinder analogy, make the Jerma meat grinder analogy, but Eudora would like, what would she say? Like, she'd say something like, how much do you think the M&Ms get paid? She'd say something like that, I think. Something just like weird like that. It's just like, what do you mean? Or just say like someone looks like the yellow M&M. I just remembered that. Like she makes a chocolate sandwich, but a chocolate bar between two slices of dark. I wonder if it tastes with gravy on it. And Sally's just like, ugh. And then there was that time when she approached the cat next door. She just said, I gave it to that. She just gave Linus's blanket to that K next door, which I mean, I suppose I've gotten her off easy for that. Like, I suppose she wasn't thinking about how much that mattered to Linus. But I just think it's funny that she saw the flipping cat next door. This giant thing, this giant monster of a cat. Everybody who references is how heavy that cat is. The weight estimate is higher every time. I don't remember how high it got by the last time. I know with Linus said 10,000 pounds. Called it a gully cat. That was one of his weird things. He eventually thought gully cats were a thing that existed. Yeah, Eudora just was like, oh, this is a nice kitty. Saw this flipping monstrous cat. And I was just like, oh, this is a little kitty. He wants the blanket. I'll give him the blanket. It's just like, that's just such a flippin' wild thing to think. It's such a wild thing to see from that. I did it. It's such a wild thing, and it's just those kinds of moments. That's why I think that's why I find charm in Eudora. I like characters where they're just like this kind of eccentric, or like they're kind of, or like they have their own kind of world. They're in their own little world. Schroeder's in his own little world. World's End Valentine. Here we go. Ah! Shoot! What? Okay then. Ah! Volcano Lotuses. Lodi? Is Ah! What did they throw? Oh shoot. Growl! What? Okay. Green Birdo. How the heck am I gonna do this? How am I gonna do this? I can't use Link. Okay, that's how I do this. Okay, too early, too late. Whatever it is, bad timing. It's not solid. Yes.